Today on the channel, we are sitting down with none other than Clint Cooper from Padley, where we talk all things business building, company culture, and one of my favorites, watches.
Clint, the closer, a good friend of ours in the Wealthy Investor Network. We've been friends for a couple of years now. Kind of started at the same level a few years ago, but now you're like crazy, doing insane amount of deals.
We're just lucky to have him here.
50 deals a month. You are the man. I really want to get into how you've developed your business today, how you've expanded to multiple markets as well with your business, and a couple of those kind of detailed business models that you're doing with novations and how you're doing 50 deals plus a month, man.
Now, would either of you mind if we address the elephant in the room before we get started?
Let's address it. Let's
Okay,
get it out of the way.
have to.
Let's do it.
I feel like we have to. So a couple weeks, maybe a couple months ago, there was a clip circulating from the Ryan Pineda podcast where Clint was being interviewed by Ryan talking about your business and talking about how recently, in the past maybe year or two, you've got into more luxury properties and luxury flipping, and how the rate hike and market adjustment had really hurt, and how you had obviously lost some money along with other people too. You're not alone. Lost some money during that time. And I think there was a quote, remind me, but it said, oh yeah, I'll blame the Boakley brothers for that. So let's just bring that up and clear the air.
Yeah, let's clear the air. So you guys are talking all this good stuff about me, but I want to talk about y'all for a second. Luxury flips, that's y'all's game. Like, y'all got that on lock.
It's funny because before we knew it, like, everyone was saying, oh, that's your thing. Like, wait a second. Oh, we've been doing it for a little bit. We feel good about it, but you guys know us as that's our thing now. For some reason, all of a sudden, we just woke up and we were kind of branded the luxury flippers.
The luxury guys.
Well, I can tell you, I've ventured into that space, and like I said on the Ryan Pineda podcast, did not go well.
So you ventured out of it recently.
I'm completely out.
Okay.
I was just talking to Javier Chavez about this on a podcast before this, and I was telling him, when you make a mistake and you've made that mistake, take the bullet to the head. Don't try to just take a few knife stabs. Take the bullet to the head and get rid of it and get the distraction out of the way. Because I was managing 3 luxury flips, and if I did not cut the losses and just sell them as is and get rid of them, my business would not be in the place it was today. Yeah. And it's just because I realized this is a huge distraction. I'm trying to project manage these houses that are 45 minutes away in downtown Atlanta.
Wow.
And I don't have that skill set. I had to fire my project manager because I was going through a bad place in my business at the time. It was during that market shift, July 2022. And, I just decided, let's just take the bullet to the head and get rid of this, because I was waking up with nightmares, just having a lot of stress on my plate.
Cold sweats.
Yeah, I thought I was going to lose about 250 on those houses. I ended up losing 650.
Wow,
so
that's a big number.
Triple, triple what I thought. And it was a huge lesson of shiny object syndrome. Don't venture out of what you're good at. Because I wasn't even dialed in on the flipping side, just entry-level homes. And I'm going into luxury flips. I'm looking at these big numbers, thinking I'm about to make these $300,000 rips, and just wasn't the case.
And I appreciate you being transparent with that, because that's something we try to do as well. We've definitely lost money on some homes around the same time point for the same reasons as a lot of other people did as well. So we try to share that. Obviously, we've had a lot of wins, and we've made our way, graduated from low-level properties to mid-level, to doing and building that skill set to do those luxury ones successfully. And that takes a little while, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. We've definitely had properties where we've lost money on. We just tend to win a lot more than we lose.
I think the biggest takeaway from all of it, like you said, is being able to take the loss and move on as an investor. And I think that's a big lesson that we've all learned over the last year or two was, most people want to sit and still, oh no, it's still going to be good. It's still going to be good. I'm going to stay patient on it. But the best decision you can make is just take the loss and move on. Stop playing defense and start playing offense again. And I got to say, I think over the last year, that was our biggest mistake, is we had a lot of deals, and we had a lot of deals that lost a lot of money. But we stopped buying. So where did our minds go? Our minds went strictly to focusing on those deals, which are going to be losses no matter what. And we had nothing positive in the pipeline to look forward to. So I think stopping the offense was our biggest mistake because the losses were the losses.
And we dragged them out too.
And that's what people tend to do is they hold on tight versus letting go, taking the loss, and looking forward to the future. So our biggest commitment this year was, look, we're not going to stop again, right?
Yep.
Like you're going to have losses, you're going to have home runs, you're going to have break evens. This is investing. We're taking a risk on every deal we do.
Right.
The best thing we could do is say, look, that was a loss, but look at what we have in the pipeline moving forward. We're playing offense still. We're still locking deals up. So that doesn't hurt as much, and we don't focus as much on that defensive play. It's more so on the future. And I think that's kind of where our mindset is from now on.
Yeah, playing on offense. I think I'm telling you right now, if I would have finished those flips out to the end, my business would not be in the place it is now because I would have been focused on those, wouldn't have been focused on building what I had playing offense, like you're saying. And it was a game changer, and it was a tough pill to swallow.
Always.
So one of these closings, literally one of these houses I bought it for $900,000. I'd already put $100,000 into the house.
Okay.
Sold it as is. After the market shift, sold it for $900,000, and I'd already put $100,000 in. Mm-hmm. I came to closing with like $220,000.
Yeah,
for that closing.
It hurts.
Like come to closing with $220,000.
Right. Selling a house and having to pay $200K out of pocket is not fun.
Man, I will tell you that relief I felt when that deal was done and that headache was off my plate was.
And you only feel
priceless.
that once it's done.
Yeah,
but it's the hardest thing to do is to get that done. So I commend you for doing the hard thing and even stopping them midway or stopping them wherever they were and forcing yourself to get rid of them now. Yeah. That's even harder. Yeah. So I commend you for doing that.
And I had my, I made that decision in about October of 2022, and December had my best month ever.
Yeah.
Best month ever. Because I was back to offense.
Yeah. That's kind of where we're at is, stopping play. I mean, is it taboo to talk about how much we lost over the last year?
I mean, that is a good round number. Like, I was just telling him an example of some homes and some examples for sure.
I think on the luxury deals, playing in that field, the rewards are higher and the losses are a lot higher. I think from June of 2022 till about June of this year, we lost about $1.6 million in cash.
It's pretty heavy.
Part of the game we play.
However, since we decided, like I said, playing offense again in April, we just had our best month ever. So we lost $1.6 million in a 9-month time frame, which most people would probably go out of business in that stage, right? In that state. We put together a couple, $500,000 plus months in income, and that gets you right back in. But if we didn't play the offense and decide, hey, look, we're no longer dwelling on the past, we're moving forward, we would only have losses on the books. And I think that would be a killer.
Yeah, and I think the thing that you said, you avoided game over. Because in our industry, there are going to be a year out of probably 1 out of every 4, 1 out of every 5 that just sucks.
Yeah.
Like you're going to have a market shift. You're going to lose a bunch of money on a bunch of houses because, you lost your equity on the deal. And the whole goal is to avoid a game over. Keep the business running. You guys did that. You lost $1.6 million and kept it going. That means you had a bunch of cash reserves available. You made a bunch of money before. And that's, you
got to keep fighting.
That's commendable.
And we look at it just that same way on a 3, 4, 5 year scale, because what happened right before this time period? We went through COVID and the aftermath of COVID, where we probably made an extra $2 million that we weren't even expecting to make. We had an amazing year.
Yeah.
And so if I just look at the lost year and look at that, man, it's terrible. I could just fall into that pit of despair. But if I widen my scope and go, a year and a half or 2 years before, we made this much extra money. So, we had that down year. Let's level it all out. It's not so bad. Right. Life goes on.
No, it's great. Yeah. Like if you look at it from a 5-year standpoint, you guys have had an extremely successful career in this.
Absolutely.
Versus if you look at it from a 1-year standpoint, it looks horrible. Right. But again, it's about avoiding game over. You guys have put back cash reserves because you were smart, right? Mm-hmm. Like you put back cash reserves to be able to handle those losses.
Yeah.
And the people that go out and spend all of their profits on stupid shit, those are the people that 100%. Actually see game over.
Right. I honestly, we were sitting there and it feels real shitty to see your bank account start going down like that. But looking at it, probably in when we really had our reserves up, looking at that and seeing those zeros and seeing those commas is such an amazing feeling, like more so than going out and buying something. Like, I want to see that. I want to know I have that.
And it's an amazing feeling building it back up past where you were before the losses.
I was just going to say that.
Like,
the best feeling is like this last month or two where it's like, hey, the 5 or 6 months of rebuild that we did with our acquisitions team and all the properties that we bought that are now starting to sell off again and create that revenue. It's like, wow. We shifted a bunch of things. We were putting all of our own capital into these properties. Now we got all gap funders and private lenders. So really our account's going to climb so much faster than it would have before, probably exceeding where it was before the downturn.
That's the goal.
And that's really cool to see start happening again because we got creative. We made better decisions. We learned from our lessons. And now the rebuild is happening. And it's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. And, during that period of 2021 to 2020, mid 2022, it was like, you couldn't lose.
No.
The game was so easy. And you have to, one thing that I've noticed about me is like when we have those good months, like I get soft and I get, not as aggressive and now after experiencing these things, I have productive paranoia now. I'm like, we gotta keep our foot on the gas. Like this time's good. We gotta keep our foot on the gas. Yeah. And I saw a quote from I don't know who actually said the quote, but it was like during great times, average people can get great results. During bad times, great people get average results. So it just inspired me. I got to level up, right? Like I got to go from being average and getting these great results during this crazy time that anyone with any sense of knowledge can have success, and I've got to actually get great at this. So during these down periods, I can still have somewhat good results.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about what you're working on now.
Yep.
You've kind of shifted from the flip game to the all-in heavy direct-to-seller marketing game.
Yep.
What's that looking like for you nowadays? What are your main marketing channels? What are you doing to create this high level of business that you're doing?
Yeah, so I think the main thing that I'm doing, I'm 95% wholesale. I still have 7 or 8 flips going on at any time. And maybe that number will increase, maybe it'll decrease. I don't know, but the main focus is the wholesale business, and because that's what we're good at. And what I have found is first of all, we do direct mail, we do cold calling, we do cold texting. So don't have a wide variety of marketing sources, but I would say 75% of that budget is allocated towards direct mail. So that's our biggest player. One thing I know is the United States Postal Service, I don't see it ever really going away. Yeah, they may do some things and whatnot, but I think it's a very recession-proof type marketing strategy that's always going to be there. And so now we're focused fully on wholesale, and how to have a successful wholesale business is have a high-performing sales team.
Right.
And that's literally the hardest thing to do is build a high-performing sales team. So we had to create a culture of accountability. We had to hire a bunch of sales reps, right? Because in a sales organization, you're going to have a bunch of attrition. You're going to lose people, to whatever. But the goal is, like, if you can stick 30% of those people, the good 30%, and get them to stick over a long period of time and continue to add to that 30%, you can have a high-functioning sales organization. But you have to create that culture of accountability. You have to have those sales managers in place to be able to push results. And so that's what we're doing. We have about 8 acquisition agents and 6 disposition agents, and we're just driving sales, high-performance sales team.
You know what? A lot of people that want to either build that or have built that same team or that same element in their business, they don't speak about it in a way that you speak about it. And you went into it knowing I'm going to lose tons of people constantly, and that's never going to change. What I see a lot of people do is they go, I want to build this, or I'm in the middle of building my team, but I'm losing people, or they left, or they stink and they weren't as good, or they told me they could do this and they can't. And now I just feel like I'm just constantly scratching and clawing to get any momentum. They don't go into it knowing that's a difficulty you're going to face. So swallow that pill and go ahead and take it, because you know it's going to happen. Yep. And so you went into it knowing this is going to happen to me. I'm going to try to keep as many as I can, but I'm not going to be off-put or frustrated by the fact that that's the nature of building this type of a team.
Sure.
Right. Yeah. I think also people need to realize, you're outlaying money, and it's going to take time for that to come back and turn a profit. So from your perspective, for anyone out there watching that might be new to wholesaling or direct-to-seller marketing, How long do you think someone should give a marketing channel before they turn a profit?
I think a minimum of 4 months.
4 months.
Yeah, because you should see signs of success after 4 months. You may not be to break even, but you should be to seeing some signs of success. Now, there's a lot of factors that go into that because you have to have a sales team that can handle the volume and handle them correctly. So, but typically if I feel like I have a good sales team and they're working these leads properly and they're being hit when they need to be hit, I think 4 months is a good judgment, because if you do it for 1 month, that is literally I did TV for 1 month. It was the biggest disaster ever.
Yeah.
Now we ended up breaking even on the, we spent $25K that first month, broke even, but it was month 8 when we broke even. It was a lead in our system from, however long. I think we got 25 leads for $25K.
So why did you stop after a month if it takes 4 months to start actually turning a pipeline?
So during that period, we were having so much success with direct mail. They were like, we need to allocate this money to more direct mail than what's already working and put fuel onto that fire versus see this out and let it now I think there's a time when we're going to go back into TV, but we wanted to put fuel on the fire. We wanted to see revenue right then. We didn't want to wait for it to build up, and it would have built up, right? Like TV is known to work in pretty much any market. It works here in Vegas. It works in Atlanta, but the capital allocation, it was just going to take a longer cycle versus that mail that was already working.
So if I turn my TV on, I see this right here. That's working. That's got to work right there.
Was it you on the TV ad?
It was me on the TV ad.
Come on, look at that. That's working.
I've got a little more camera experience now, so I could probably put a little bit better ad out there, I would think. But yeah, it was just, it was just one of those things where it was kind of shiny object syndrome again. Yeah. Looking at an opportunity, thinking it's gold, and really I should just be focused on getting better at what I'm doing now, which was mail.
If you don't mind, let me give some people some context here. When you talk about mail as your number one success marketing strategy, what is your return on spend? And normally you'd think, okay, a 3X, a 4X, something really good. What are you experiencing?
So we are actually at 9X.
That's incredible.
On mail. And we made a stupid mistake a month ago, where we decided to double our mail budget because we had 9X result on paper over a year period, and we decided to double it. But what we didn't think is, well, do we have the people to be able to manage a double the budget? And what we found out was we absolutely do not. This is a horrible decision. And we made it was a gut feeling decision. And that's, one of the big things that we're focused on as an organization is figuring out how to make data-driven decisions versus gut-driven decisions, because we always make way better decisions when there's some data involved. And what we noticed is, we doubled this mail budget from $70K a month to $140K a month, and we don't have the people that can handle it. I messaged one of our acquisition agents the other day, and it wasn't me, it was our sales manager, and he said, hey boss, you got 100 opportunities overdue on your contact. And he said, I'm flooded with inbound and pass offs. I don't have time to get to them right now.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And we're like, crap, we are literally just burning money.
But
that's all we're doing is burning money.
Knowing this avenue is so good for you. Knowing that, okay, if I'm getting 9X on my spend, if I double it, I should be getting double the leads, double the activity. You knew that was coming, right?
Yep. 100%.
You just didn't prepare for it.
We didn't prepare for it. We were just like, we're going to make double the money now. We spend double the money. We're going to make double the money. It was just, again, making that gut-driven decision versus analyzing the data of what our people can actually handle.
Yeah.
And that's what screwed us. And we probably burned, we realized that, hey, we have the capacity to actually spend 80K. We're spending 70 before. We should increase it by 10K. Not to 140K and double it.
It's incrementally growing.
Yes.
Are the people on your sales team, how do you pay them? Are they all commission based, or do you pay them salaries? Your actual closers and setters?
Yeah. So they, the setters have, that's what we call our lead management division. They have a small salary and they get paid per deal that closes. The closers, they come in and get 4 months guaranteed pay. So say we agree to 4K a month. They're going to get 4K a month guaranteed no matter what. And after that, they're going on straight commission, 10%.
Okay.
So that's basically how it works. So you got to go out and kill what you eat. We're giving you 4 months to get your pipeline where it needs to be. Learn the ropes and everything like that. And then after that, you got to go kill.
Makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
But, the biggest thing I've seen with growing a sales organization is you have to have a couple things. You got to have recruitment. So you need to have, like we talked about attrition, talking about, turnover. we got to have a recruiter constantly bringing in new bodies into our business because some people aren't going to stick, some people are going to leave, some people aren't going to be good enough, whatever it is. So we need the recruitment phase, and then you need a badass sales manager. And when I say badass sales manager, I mean you need an alpha, right? Like you need somebody who's process oriented and can dive into all the details and really dig into what's going on in each individual pipeline. But you need an alpha. It's going to be able to lay the hammer on them when they're not doing right, right? And there needs to be a culture of accountability, whether it's a male or female alpha. But that's one thing that I've seen so many issues with sales organizations is they have somebody managing the sales team that isn't going to lay the hammer on them, is scared of those hard conversations with their reps. And I think that's a big driver of success. If you look at someone like Andy Elliott, that guy is a freaking alpha, and he drives like that's what you want on your team. I'm telling you.
Does everyone in your company have a 6-pack?
No, not at all. Not at all. Like we don't have that. But what I'm saying is like that type of personality who's going to have those hard conversations and push people. Yeah. Like that's who you need running your sales team. And we have a girl running our director. She's our director of lead management, and she is a freaking hammer. Like she will go out there. Like I think during the first week of her on the job, she's fired 6 of them and replaced them.
Cold-blooded.
Because she was like, this division is in such shambles. I'm about to go in and fix this. I'm about to go lay the hammer, and I'm going to go
clean house.
Yeah, and she did, and now the division is in a freaking great spot.
That's amazing to hear. Yeah. But I think that's important. Like the first part you said, if you don't have somebody constantly seeking new talent, well, getting rid of somebody that's not great feels like I feel like you can't do it. And
also getting rid of people that are great performers, but they're bad culture fits. Maybe they're a cancer. Maybe they're always negative, calling the leads bad, calling the other people in the company bad. Those are people you don't want. And I used to be scared to like get rid of those type of people. But now that I have a recruiter constantly bringing in new, fresh faces, I don't have to worry about it.
Absolutely.
And what I've realized is when you get rid of that performer who's a culture cancer, somebody's going to step up. Mm-hmm. It always happens. We had a couple people go down. They're dealing with some personal issues. One of my sales reps got in a really bad car accident, and they had to be out for a few weeks. Mm-hmm. And I was worried that our contracts were going to dip. It didn't dip at all. Somebody stepped up.
Yeah.
So
it's amazing culture. To hear.
So let's unravel this, if we can, a little bit for anyone that might be watching or listening that is wholesaling currently, but they're solopreneurs, they're one-man band. If you take yourself back to that position, which I know you were in at some point.
Yep.
How did you hire the right people onto your team? Who were your first hires?
Yep.
How did you develop a business to where you're at today from that solopreneur phase, from that one-man band phase?
Yeah, so first hire was my COO, Tyler, and honestly, I probably did a horrible job of hiring him and giving him a COO title when he had 0 experience as a COO, but I gave him the title, right? And he wasn't a COO in the beginning. Now he's a super high-level COO that I think he could go lead a Fortune 500 company now.
So you saw it within him. You knew it.
I didn't know it, but what I did know was we aligned from our value standpoint. Yeah. I knew he was a super, super hard worker, and I knew he was the exact opposite of me.
Okay.
Right? Like, so sales wasn't his thing. The processes and the operations, that was his thing. Diving into deep details, figuring out massive problems, like that was him. Mm-hmm. And we aligned from the value standpoint. So I hired him, and man, like the person he is now compared to what he was 2 years ago, he's a completely different beast. Like he is an absolute animal now. He's a leader. He's, like I said, I literally think he could go lead a Fortune 500 company now because of all the experiences he's gained throughout this process. And the guy I hired, he wasn't that in the beginning, but I saw the potential. And I also wasn't cheap. He was making 6 figures before. My first hire was a 6-figure hire. Wow. I agreed to pay him $100K a year. Right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And I think so many people were like, let's go hire the cheapest person possible. Mm-hmm. And guess what you're going to get? You're going to get shitty results when you hire someone cheap.
But it's scary to do at the time.
Scary to do at the time. But what I did was when I started, I went out and created a bunch of revenue. And that allowed me to have cash, which is the oxygen for my business, to make smart bets. I started making smart bets, funneling to marketing and funneling to people. Mm-hmm. So I created that, being able those opportunities for people, created that by driving revenue in the beginning. And I think that's what people make the mistake of is like, they're like, oh, let me go hire some cheap employee, and they're not in a good position from a cash reserve standpoint. You got to go out and create some cash so you can make some really good bets. Because if your bet is on the guy who's never been successful at a sales role and you're hiring for sales, your bet's probably not very good. I want to make a bet that like, hey, this is probably got a good probability of sticking.
Sure. No.
Yeah, and you have the mentality that, look, this is a business where you pay to play, right? You, from a marketing standpoint, you pay to play, right? The more educated you are and the more you spend, the more you make in terms of a marketing standpoint for the most part.
Yeah.
You know, in a strategic way. The people, you get what you pay for, right? You hire a 6-figure plus COO.
He's a killer.
You know, he's going to be a killer. You hire someone for $45,000 because that's all you think you can afford. You're going to get a $45,000 employee. You know, and then also I think on the education front with the programs that you're in and the people you've learned from and have been mentored by, also these are not cheap nor are they free programs. So I think it just goes into that mindset of this whole business model for all of us is we pay high productivity people, you know, high level people. We pay a lot of money for high level houses, high level education, and we all see the reward from that. And I think that's something that people are very scared to do.
Yeah. And your mentality is something that not a lot of entrepreneurs have when they first start. They're starting their first business, is they're constantly trying to eliminate costs. So they're trying to reduce the costs. So that's the mentality of, well, I'm just going to pay for the cheaper person. Oh, I can't afford to pay 6 figures. I can afford to pay 45 grand. So I'm going to just cut my costs there.
Yep.
You can only cut costs so far. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what business you're in, whether you're Amazon or you're flipping houses. You just can't get costs down past a certain point of functioning. You still need to function, but you can always drive top line, and there's no ceiling stopping you from driving that top line revenue. That's where you should focus. But unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs starting out are worried, I don't have limited funds, I have limited capital, so I'm trying to make sure I don't spend it too much.
Yep.
So they're focused truly on the wrong half of the business, where they should be looking at the ceiling and going, how do I push through that and drive revenue, which is exactly what you did.
Yep, 100%. And I think, you know, I saw this quote on Facebook the other day. It was, would you like to make pay $250K to make $1 million in the next year? And I was like, well, yeah. And he was like, you need to go out and hire that C-suite level executive that you've been putting off hiring.
Yeah.
That's literally,
I love that.
That's the investment, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I've seen it so many times in my business. Like, so for instance, we closed a $600K wholesale in March of 2022. What did I do with that?
One deal, net $600K?
607 actually.
Wow.
It was a wholesale deal. It was a little 9-pack portfolio. We ended up selling to a hedge fund, one buyer, one deal, one closing.
Damn, I thought ours was big.
Yeah.
That puts ours down there.
It was nice, right? But what did that allow me to do? So I went out and, you know, I had a coach. His name was Ren Bartlett, and he was coaching me one-on-one on how to build a high-level wholesale organization where we were doing one-on-one coaching with him, and he had been doing 100 to 125 deals a month wholesaling, like next level stuff, like guys you don't hear about talking often. And so I ended up hearing that he left the company that he was with, and I knew we had just made that $600K rip, and I was like, I got to go out and get this guy. Well, I got $600,000 sitting on the side. Not saying that I paid him that up front, but I gave him a very sweet deal to get him.
Because he came from a great position. So you had to pay him.
He knows what
well.
he's doing, too.
Yeah. And you know, to come to find out after I made the deal with him, he's getting offers from Phil Green, biggest home buyer in San Diego, Steve Trang in Arizona. Everybody's after this guy.
Yeah.
But I'd already secured the bag.
Yeah.
I already secured the deal with him, and you know, our company would not be anywhere close to what it would be without him. Like, he's literally taught us the roadmap of how to get to $20 million a year.
Amazing.
And I wouldn't have been able to ever do that if I didn't close that $600K wholesale and reinvest some of those profits.
So you've made that back probably 20x already.
Crazy,
if not
crazy return. And so, like, I get really, really excited because I kind of think, like, I really like to look at my organization from a sports team. I like to look at my directors of every division, my partners, all the salespeople underneath, and I look at it from a sports team. How can I upgrade? Like, how can I, you know, what position am I lacking at that I'm struggling at, and get a better person in that seat? We've, you know, put a director of title. We've had 3 different director of titles in the past year, and each time it's been an exponential upgrade from the previous person, and it's changed the game for us. Yep. Like, I hired that the last director of title, our current one, and he got out $400K of title issues within a month. of deals that were sitting there that were probably going to die, never going to get solved. And he's out going to jails to get signatures. He's hunting down 12 heirs to sign an heirship affidavit.
Life into that whole sector.
And it's just like we get $400K of closings out of one hire. Yeah. Like that's a game changer.
Yeah, sure.
You know? So I'm just a big proponent of investing a lot of money into really, really good people because ultimately that's what's going to change your organization.
Yeah.
That is what's going to change it.
The goal is for you at some point to be able to step out of the day-to-day micromanagement, and the only way to do that is to have people that are high level that you trust to do as good of a job as you can do in that position to take it over for you. And if you don't hire those people, you're going to be stuck in that position forever.
Yeah.
And you can't grow.
And it's funny you say that because I used to think that you need to have someone be 80% as good as you to replace you. I'm now of the opinion to replace you, they need to be better than you.
Yeah.
Better. Every position across the board. If I look at any of my directors, they are all better than me at every one of their respective positions. And that's a difference maker. Yeah. Like that's a different organization than you had before when you replace those people.
That's what the most successful people do is they surround themselves by better people.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Elon, right? What do you say? Like, I didn't go to Harvard, but my CEO did. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, I had a 1.8 GPA in college. Like, I'm not a smart guy. But what I'm good at is putting people in the right seats. That's literally probably my number one skill set is just getting the right people in the right seats and driving success.
Well, now that you've done that with your business and put a lot of the right people in their right seats, what's your day-to-day look like?
Well, I'm still very much involved in deals, everything.
Specific deals. So even the granular.
So I normally deal with the trouble deals, like you know, a deal that is going to get killed, and we have an offer, and a seller when we're locked up too high, the numbers aren't working. They're going to send me in there to go put that deal together. That's like one of my best skill sets.
A fixer.
Yes, fixing. So I still do some of that, but I'm also in the CEO role. I just recently moved out of director of dispositions. I hired a rock star who's way better than me.
Okay,
but my day-to-day, I'm just still focused on driving performance. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm up late texting some of the directors to create action.
Motivating them and encouraging them.
Yeah, or just, one thing that my business partner, Ren, does that it's interesting, but it drives action every time. It's like I'll wake up in the morning and he'll have 17 texts fired off to different people of what's wrong in that. Like he'll go through the CRM and say, hey, I see 3 in greenlit. Why are they on the market yet? Or, hey, I see 4 in title ordered. What's not? And it coordinates action and it like drives action. And so like I do a lot of that as well. But for me, I think it's just like I'm recruiting still. Like when I see an opportunity to recruit someone high level who maybe my recruiter didn't close or whatever, I'll step in and figure out a solution to get them in the organization. You know, I've done that with some of our sales reps because typically the people I found that say no to the job, those are the ones I want. Like they're like, on the fence or like, hey, I've got a pretty good opportunity right now. Like you need to sweeten the pie a little bit. Those are the people that I've seen it work out the best. So it's just a combo of things. I run our morning huddle, like for the sales team. Like I'm on there. Me and Ren, switch off running it, but I still am very much involved with driving culture. I'm always the person in the Slack group because we have a very much virtual team, and because we have salespeople in Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, I spend a lot of time in that Slack group, like just sending motivational quotes, hyping people up, celebrating new contracts that come in. That's how we create a virtual culture.
That's your only way to interact with them, really.
Yeah.
Right?
So the 2 ways we drive culture virtually are through our morning huddles, our hype huddles, where all the sales team gets on. We create, you have to go over your good news, focus, and numbers for the day.
You hear from everyone?
Every single salesperson. Okay. And then next is our Slack channel. Every time you get a contract, you've got to post a story of how you helped that seller and what, locking it up and who passed off the lead to you, or if you're a dispo, who locked up the deal on the acquisition side. And everybody just celebrates. And we're just constantly just driving that positivity. And we also counting down the contracts, right? So like, hey, this is 1 of 12 on the week. Hey, this is 2 of 12. This is 3 of 12, 4 of 12, 5 of 12, all the way to 12 because we're like pushing towards that goal of hitting 12 contracts in the week. And it just drives success. It drives culture. And people love working for us, even though it is a virtual model.
When you drive those goals and drive that vision through every person, every salesperson, to look at what we're trying to achieve and constantly keep that in your eye, what are some of the things that, okay, well, if we hit our goal, like, what do we do? Like, do you say, hey, team, like, we do this, we are
like team vacation
all Friday
okay,
in the last of the month.
Some rewards or something
all Friday
like that.
last of the month. That's something that we've done.
So they get a 3-day weekend.
So like one thing that we do is like each week we do what we call a warrior wheel, and we call each other warriors. Like that is our culture. We're warriors, and so like when we address each other, it's like, hey, good morning, warrior. So one thing we do is what we call a warrior reel. And the previous week, the director of that division is going to go on every Monday and say, hey, this is the top performer for my division, and this is the person that, showed our core values in the best light.
Okay.
And so they're going to get nominated. They're going to get thrown on that warrior wheel, and we'll have like $500 cash, $1,000 cash,
Oh, so there you go.
laptop, whatever.
Yeah.
So every single week, like they're motivated to get on that warrior wheel because they're going to get some pretty sweet prizes.
Nice. That's a cool thing.
And like, one of them on there is like, give Clint 50 push-ups. He's got to go take 50 push-ups. Like you got to assign that to him. So it's just fun, and they're incentivized to get on that wheel because they could win a laptop, $1,000 cash, whatever.
What's it like? So you have a lot of virtual people, but you do have a good office with people in there and on the daily.
Yep.
What's it like walking into your office?
So we're on Main Street in Buford, so it's a very it kind of reminds me of like Old Vegas a little bit. Like it's just like it's a nice area, but it's a little more low key.
Okay.
You got restaurants everywhere, so you can walk to wherever for lunch. But when you walk in, it's just a massive sales floor.
So just people lined up, desks.
Our office total, I think, is 3,500 square feet, and I would say 2,200 of it is just open space, sales floors,
cubicle style.
Not even cubicles, just tables.
Yeah.
Desks, the stand up desk, everywhere. There's probably 20 of them or something, because we get a lot of the people from out of town. They come in town, randomly, and there'll be 4 or 5 of our sales reps coming in town from Mississippi or Florida or whatever, and they'll get an Airbnb for the week and come to office there. Okay. So sometimes we'll have 25, 30 people in there. Gotcha. Sometimes we'll have 7 or 8. So just depending on the week, but it's just a huge sales floor. Me and Tyler have our executive offices, and then we've got, a big conference room. Other than that, it's just open sales, tons of energy, of energy. And like I said, the biggest driver of that culture with people working from home and stuff is that opportunity in the morning meeting when we get to interact with them and push results and drive results and bring that positivity, getting them fired up for the day. And then that Slack group, like it's a game changer.
One of the things that I love best about our setup is how we don't, you can see there's not a whole lot of places to go out and eat. Like Vegas has a lot of options, but it's not like we can just walk to a bunch of different choices. We got like 2 choices, and like one of them's shit. So everyone usually,
both of them hold on,
they're not great.
What's the name of the place that sucks?
Oh, it's that
Lily Koi?
Yeah,
it's okay.
It's okay. It's a hard okay. Sorry, Lily Koi. But what that does is force people to either
leave a bad review on the Boatsy Brothers.
It either forces them to bring something in, order something, bring something in, and spend time here in the office eating lunch.
Yep.
And that's where a lot of the tasks, the frustrations, the things that we're doing in the last hour kind of go away.
Yep.
And you talk to them about what you did last night, what you're doing tonight with your kids or this weekend. And then once you start rolling on a more personal note, and this thing that we've been doing is really like frustrating me. Oh, okay. If I walked into your office and said, what's frustrating you, you would never tell me that. But now that we've broken down little barriers here, you're telling me what's really going on.
Yep.
And that gives us a chance to really hear from people like, how do you really feel about being here today or this week or this year?
Mm-hmm. It's a huge thing to be able to get actual real feedback from your people. And one thing that I've been focused on is, during that morning huddle is being vulnerable. Talking about my mistakes, talking about my downfalls, talking about the things I struggle with, because that gives them permission to talk about theirs as well. So I do that often. I've talked about, I don't know how many times I've talked about those 600K flips that I lost last year, and how bad of a spot mentally I was during that time. And it allows them permission to be able to speak that, because I want that, right? Like I want an open. I want to know if something in their personal life they're struggling with, or the money.
We don't
issues.
know what we don't know. So if we don't know anything's wrong, we can't assume something's wrong. And that's the hardest thing to get out of someone is what's not going right, either professionally or personally.
Yep.
What's not going right? What can we help with?
100%. If you look at sales reps, right? Look, because they get streaky sometimes, right? Like when you look at a sales rep and they're starting to get on a bad streak, and this is a consistent performer, it's like 99% of the time something's going on at home, something's going on in their personal life.
Outside the office, yeah.
Exactly, outside the office. And if you aren't able to connect with that person, or they don't trust you enough to be able to tell you that stuff, you're doing a bad job at leading. And you're doing a bad job of not creating that culture of vulnerability to be able to share those things, because I just see it so many times that when a sales rep stops performing, it's 99% of the time, it's not due to their work ethic, not due to whatever, it's something happening in their personal life.
Right. It also gives us a chance to really like hear, what are you looking for? What are you trying to achieve or trying to do? It might not be in the workplace, it might be outside. What do you and your family want? What are you seeking? And when you get to hear that stuff, and then as a leader, you actually pay attention to it and go, wow, that's something I can act on.
Yep.
That is so easy for me to act on. That will take me 10 minutes, and it'll change their month, change their year, plus give them the feeling of I'm heard at work, I'm understood at work, I'm supported at work, I'm not just told what to do at work.
Yep.
These people actually care about me. That you just can't put a dollar on.
Yep, 100%.
A lot of it's not always money motivated either.
No.
There's some things where, like someone in
so
our office controller, she just wants to put her kids in a nice private school,
Yeah.
And to do that, we can easily help her do that, and we've helped her do that. They're now in private school. A year later, that was her goal last year, is get my kids in private school. It's like, okay, well, for us, it's like, well, we got to pay them more to make them happy, or we got to, we always think money motivated. When you get down to it, it's, private school, or I need a new car, or it's like, okay, well, how can we help achieve those small goals that makes your life that much more functional, either inside the office or outside the office at home? And I think it's important to understand people's needs like that.
And I think it's, from an accountability standpoint, like I really lean into that stuff when holding someone accountable. I don't make it, hey, you're not performing for the company, you suck, this and that. I say, hey, when we interviewed you, you told me the most important thing you wanted to do for your family was take them to Disney World. Are you not interested in doing that as well? And it's a different conversation.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a different level of fight when they come back to work the next day. We do a thing called a deeper why conversation. We do it within the first 2 weeks of employment. When we feel like someone's going to stick, we're going to have a conversation and basically ask those goals. If they tell me, well, hey, I just want to own a Ferrari. Well, why do you want to own a Ferrari? Like we don't want surface level answers. We're going to dive deeper into, well, I want to own a Ferrari because I grew up in a super poor neighborhood, and there was this guy that drove down the street with a Ferrari all the time, and I just admired him, and I just wanted that forever. And now I can go back and ask him for permission to hold him accountable. And when I do, I'm going to say, man, I want to help you get that Ferrari. Like the work you're putting in right now isn't there. And it's going to give them a level of responsibility. It's not just about us and his performance within the company, but it's about
deeper.
what he wants.
It's about those long-term vision that this person's had their entire lives to own a Ferrari or put their kids through private school versus public school, or whatever it is, whatever that goal is. It's hitting that lifelong vision. Yeah,
and I it's funny. I talked about this on another video not long ago, and somebody commented on my Facebook post saying, that's manipulative what you do. And I was like, no, I literally want what they want out of life. Like that's what I'm holding them accountable, because I want to drive results for them. Like, yes, the company benefits when they drive results, right? But I'm doing this for them.
Right.
It's what they said they want.
Exactly.
It's their goal.
Exactly. And, my business partner, he had someone that came to work for him at his previous company who was telling me about the story. And he said, she came in the interview process and she was just like, I just want to take my kids to Disney World so bad. And he's like, great, we're going to hire you and we're going to make that happen. And 6 months later, she had a trip to Disney paid by the company for her kids. And that literally, like that, when you do that for someone, the fight that they are going to give you versus if you didn't do that is completely different.
Right. And all it takes is just time and attention.
100%.
I'm glad we really kind of like circled to this, because we talked about like our business and things we did, and then driving revenue and all of the stuff that you think about. Okay, when we sit down and talk and examine someone's business, we're going to talk facts and figures and get into all that. But there's a whole other side of emotional intelligence, understanding people, working with people, being successful in relationships with people that is truly just as important as all the facts and all the figures of running a company.
Yeah, I'd even argue, money's easy to make if you have the supporting cast behind you that helps you make it, right? I mean, when you have people that you trust that are, in our example, we have acquisition team that we trust with the evaluations and the offers they're submitting on deals.
Right.
We have a project manager that we trust with getting stuff done. We have GCs we trust, and then we have a back end controller we trust. Money's easy to make in that sense.
100%.
But we have to trust those people, which is the deeper level that we just talked about, is if those are the people that we feel good about and that we could help them achieve their goals, and they run fluidly and efficiently because they enjoy where they're at, they enjoy what they do every day, they don't stress about walking through that front door. As a business owner and operator, the money just comes after that. It's easy to make after that. The hard part is having that supporting cast that really helps you get there.
100% agree.
Well, I learned a lot from you in that aspect of how to treat your people, different things you do with them. So I appreciate you sharing all this with me, because every time we sit down, especially with someone of your nature and your business, I always learn a lot. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, thank you guys. I got one more question before you go.
Oh, yeah, no, let's do a closing question.
Yeah,
by all means.
I got one more question. So, I'm looking at you guys, and I see you guys have 2 nice watches on. I'm looking at myself, and I've got this iWatch that I've been wearing, and it's great for tracking calories and stuff like that. But
do you do that on it?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right,
like the workouts, I track the calories, the steps, and stuff like that. But I want to watch, and I need some advice on what I need to get.
Sure. Okay. So let's talk about what you want out of a watch. Do you want to wear a watch every day?
Yes.
So you want it daily?
Daily.
Okay. Something daily is generally going to be a little less, hey, look at me. It's going to fit into every situation that you wear on any day of the week.
Okay.
Working out maybe, going out to dinner, meeting clients, something that can
dress up, dress down.
Right. You could apply that to pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
So for a guy as handsome as you with your stature, I would suggest something steel.
Okay.
Like a Submariner, a nice
I'm not even going brands yet.
Let's go brands.
We can go brands.
Do you have any nice luxury watches at all yet?
No.
Okay.
I have this. I literally don't have a watch other than this.
Okay.
But I want one because I go to these business conferences, and
I agree. It's a good thing to have.
It strikes up conversations, things like that. So
I think 100% you build credibility having a nice watch on when you're in business conversations, when you're in conferences, when you're meeting people at a business entrepreneur level. Your credibility is built by having a nice watch.
100%.
I think it really helps. So
I recently got into him a little bit more.
Yeah, give me a couple picks.
But the reason I'm doing this is because he wants one watch. I have a couple watches, and I like them for the uniqueness and the difference in which each watch has. Like I'm just going to buy a Rolex every time I buy a watch, because that's just going to get all the same. I like watches that have different things and do different things for me. I can wear for different things.
Sure.
But that's because I have more than one. You want one, I think it's got to be a really good first watch that no matter what you're doing, you could put that on and wear.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. So that's why I'm kind of starting there.
Okay. Now, give me a pick.
Okay.
I need a pick.
So something steel is what I would go with. I wouldn't say I'm not.
When you say steel, you mean silver, right?
Silver,
silver one?
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be silver. It could be usually stainless steel, or sometimes you'll have like faces and bezels that are white gold and stuff.
Yeah,
It looks like steel, but
okay.
I would not say steel Submariner.
Okay.
That's just me.
It's very common. It's a most
everybody buys that watch.
I don't want common.
That is
I don't want.
Okay.
I want.
I want dress up, dress down.
Everyone's first watch is a steel Submariner.
I don't want that then.
No.
I want a 10 to 20K watch.
Okay.
That is like, people are gonna be like, oh, that's a cool watch, but also like I can wear it wherever.
Okay, so I think one of our business partners recently got one of these. Very, very cool and just a little different. It's an Explorer. So Rolex Explorer or Explorer 2. Those are like a little bit beefier watches too. Like you're a big stature guy. Like it's going to look good on the wrist. It's not going to be like a dainty little watch, but it's not gaudy either. It's a nice steel, white face, really clean. With gym clothes, it looks awesome. Dressed up in a suit, it looks awesome. So that's a really good option.
Explorer? Okay.
Yeah.
Landon, what's your pick?
Honestly, I love my Yachtmaster 2. I think the Yachtmaster 2, the only negative about it is it's got the blue dial, so sometimes that color can clash with an outfit, but I've worn it with a tuxedo, and
Steel.
I wear it to the gym, and I've worn it in the water and everywhere else at the beach, and that's probably, I paid $16,500 for mine. It's probably more like 18 to 20 now.
Yep.
I think it's a little bit of a pop with the color and everything.
Sure.
People notice that watch,
Sure.
but it's a super respectable watch.
Okay.
So that Yachtmaster 2 stainless.
Maybe we'll go out shopping after this.
Yeah, why not?
If you got a guy, I got a guy for you.
I will say my first watch though that I did have and I wore the shit out of it for years and years was a Breitling.
Yeah. I love
it.
those watches.
It was a steel. It was actually more shiny, but like it was a steel white face, so like same style watch. But I wore that thing for like 10 years straight, just constantly everywhere I went. It was just so applicable to anything.
I love it.
And those are like maybe 5, 6, 7. You can get something really nice for that.
Yeah.
You can afford more than that, though.
Yeah, but just because you have a budget doesn't mean you have to spend it.
Nah, spend it. Spend the budget.
Yeah. No, I want something that pops a little bit.
Yeah.
So
That's why I like some
I'm gonna
color
look at the
too.
Explorer. I'm gonna look at the Yachtmaster. See what I like. Maybe I'll go
If
shopping.
you want to go, tip top, get the all gold Yachtmaster if you want.
All gold.
You can't wear all gold every day. You're too young of a guy to wear all gold every
That
day.
could be true. It's not
That's an old thing.
That's an old man's
It's
watch.
not an everyday. I do agree with that.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I had a lot of fun talking with you today. It's always good to see you here in town for WealthCon. We get to see you 3-4 times a year, which is great.
Yep.
It's awesome to just hear the level you've gotten your business to. We've been talking, on a mastermind level for years. So I appreciate you doing this podcast with us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for having me. Always a pleasure getting in town with you, and maybe we'll go have some more beers after this.
Let's do it.
Who knows?
Appreciate you. Thanks,
All right,
guys.
see ya.